We're going to do a recording of A Wedding in Vermont, which is on page 124 of the novel Sex is the Antigravity of Metamorphosis, a novel by Michael Lyons, printed in 2008. And anyway, it's a romance, adult romance, and boy meets girl, and girl is actually a young woman with a child, and they live together. And so this is quite far into the story. A Wedding in Vermont. That's the girl's name, Rain. Rain was a lot of fun to run the back roads of Vermont with, and who wouldn't have enjoyed it? To get back beyond those hills into the country, to slow down and get into those little pastoral lanes bordered by split rail fences, winding through fields manicured by gentle tan cows who meandered on past to and from, wine-red barns with yellow trim windows, as beyond the genteelly rolling sylvan vistas demarcated by hills led to other valleys of friendly folks, was to go back into time, a time of nature and of our own primogenitors. Next we went to a country wedding. I had not been to many weddings, only my younger sisters and younger brothers. At my brother's wedding, I felt like the bearded oddball brother wearing second-hand corduroy sports coat with professorial elbow patches. Actually, to put it more correctly, I felt like a mud rat looking over a picket fence at decent people. And at my sister's wedding, I wore a rented light blue tuxedo with ruffled shirt. There I felt like a werewolf looking through the bushes at humans. I had never been to a wedding as part of a couple before. I guess Rain and I were a couple now since we were living together. I washed and waxed the Mercedes for the occasion. I used to do that in high school and was pretty good at it. I got a bottle of turtle wax from the automotive store on Decarie and some old soft sweatshirt rags and washed it in the back alley, being careful not to get any water in the broken back wing window, for which the money to fix was not yet forthcoming. I felt bad about that. I got a parking spot across Stainer Street in front of the park, and in warm Montreal autumn sun got to work waxing the venerable touring car. I was able to bring out that sweet emerald green sheen pretty keen. Somehow I talked Rain into wearing an antique garment she got from the 1800s. She did not subscribe to the pretty girl requirement that it was an obligation for a woman to always look attractive. She did not shave her leg hair, for example, and did not wear any makeup. But on the other hand, she was a sexual adventurer and did understand the psychological component of tease. This genuine Quebec antique garment, probably worth hundreds of dollars, was laced up the back, and it had a high neck, and it was all black with lots of lace and bindings. It was hot, kinky, looked like a cross between a straight jacket and something a biker babe might wear to a barbecue B&D session, though in its day it was probably worn to a funeral. I drove my old lady, she wearing her resplendent attire, in the supremely buffed, stately appointed touring car down Green to Dorchester to the Trans-Canada, where we crossed the Victoria Bridge. We drove along the St. Lawrence River past the Expo Dome, nestled into its permanent home on the edge of an island in a bend in the river, and headed on down through the eastern township to a hippie wedding across the border in Vermont. She in her wonderful top and me with my British bus driver's coat. We were a pair. We got to the wedding reception at a picturesque farm outside of Barton. They had set up large white pavilion tents in case of weather, but it was a gorgeous warm fall day. Banners blowing from masts made it look like a medieval encampment. The pre-Raphaelite hippie girls, all dressed up in their finery, in long flowing dresses, looked like acolytes in robes at the altar of love. There were throngs of sinuous young women in elegant fluid attire and bearded men in jeans. There were some girls in miniskirts and long flowing hair, and hats The ladies were taking the opportunity to exercise their right to wear big, floppy, glamorous hats that made them look like exotic flowers in the hothouse of the wind. Groups of women were walking arm in arm through, though that is not usually done as it is in Asia and Mexican cultures, and there were mostly couples, men and women together. Some big, tall, skinny guys with their hands in their jeans pockets, very long hair, looking perhaps already a little wasted, a little stoned. The women were astute, a lot of bustling here and there. It was a lovely day, the sort of day that touches your heart. Everything was in harmony. The hills undulated with waves of sea-green grass. The birds flying so swiftly south stroked the air in unison. The abundance of verdure rose to fill the air with a luxuriant scent of healthy sweetness. The colors of fall played brightly against the shadowy covering of the tall evergreens all along the road. The whole vibe was love. It was intoxicating, contagious, a hippie wedding. Everybody on their best behavior, comporting themselves like young ladies and gentlemen, yet intoxicated with the atmosphere of love, moving in the trail of flowers and the bouquets dotting the tables and the whole beds that had been set about. Rain was delighted. She is an extrovert and at ease in community. When she is in the country, she utterly loses her head and is just plain happy. It is a joy to see. She knew quite a few more people there than I did. I, on the other hand, am a shy and modest man, and not much of a socialite. My partying style, if you could call it that, developed in Texas, hadn't evolved much beyond hanging back by the keg, swapping lives with the good old boys. I had that writer's reticence and ability to split off, to be both here and not here, to be able to observe myself as though from behind my own eyes, rather than just through them, to observe myself observing. It is a kind of amplified epistemological awareness, a querying that over time becomes autonomic, though it could be misconstrued from the outside as a disassociative stare. I was content to be a fly on the wall amongst the important unfolding events. I had been this way since childhood, mentally able to generate through the practice of silence, exile, and cunning an undetectable force field of imperceptibility. It was that sense of being a catcher in the rye on the fly, an outrider on the periphery, observing through the arras, looking for the place where the veil of Maya moved on its own, where it parted, was rent or thin, and might not hold, but fall down altogether and reveal the inner workings of the universe. I was pretty good at one-on-one conversation, though. I liked intimacy, so I was content to be on my own while she did her thing and went to greet and meet and be more part of the scene. I hung back away under the shade of a tree.